Hello beautiful people of Age of Empires Mobile, my name is Timmy and I'm inviting you in a legendary episode in which I'm gonna present you the best warrior archer setup right now in Age of Empires Mobile, and we're gonna rank these marches based on their performance. And obviously during this testing I have hit some limits which I will gonna explain you once we reach every single one of them. So let's start by presenting which setups are you gonna see in this episode. So we definitely wanna see Mulan, we definitely wanna see Bellevue, we also wanna see Bellevue as a commander, while Mulan is gonna be on a third slot. And when it comes down to the middle hero, well, obviously we wanna see the performance of Mehmet at 5 stars, which is basically one of the limitations I will gonna address in a second. As a second hero which I would like to see implementing this match definitely has to be Rani. And again, we're gonna see Bellevue as commander, we're gonna see Mulan as commander. And the third hero which I would like to see in the second position definitely gonna be Mr. Attila the Hun. Mulan as commander, then Bellevue as commander. So let's address the first limitation. Obviously, I'm very aware that a lot of you guys would like to see different mercenary being used. Please take in consideration that all these tests are done on my personal account, because in order for me to test and show you the performance of a different mercenary, well, as of right now, that would cost me another 900 of these facility tokens, while my priority, dear beautiful people, is actually the research node in order to present you guys these researches as fast as possible. The second kind of limitation which I hit during my test is obviously that all the heroes you're gonna see in this video are 5 stars heroes, because I just started doing video for Age of Empires Mobile and this is my personal account, but depending on how many people are actually seeing a value in these videos, obviously in the future I can focus on newer heroes from the 1-star perspective, from the 3 stars perspective, because yes, I'm aware that for the vast majority of the players that data would actually gonna be more interesting. Good, so let's have a look at what skills I'm gonna use on these setups. So let's start basically with a setup for Mehmet, and you see what skills I'm using on Mulan and what skills I'm using on Bellevue, while the skills on Mehmet will remain the same. So again, another limitation right here is, please bear with me, as this data comes from my account. It takes a lot of these scrolls to test different skill combinations, and after that to put everything back, because guess what, every now and then in Age of Empires Mobile we have a war. So this is the setup for Mulan, Mehmet and Bellevue. Let's have a look now at Bellevue with Mehmet and Mulan. Again, the same skills. Then we are looking at Mulan as commander together with Rani and together with Bellevue. Here are the skills which I'm using on Rani. Here we are seeing Bellevue with Rani and Mulan. Again, the same skills. And obviously we want to have a look at Mulan, Attila, Bellevue. These are the skills which I'm using on Attila, the warrior's hymn and critical insight, and this is the setup in which Bellevue is the commander, and you basically see the skills are all the same. Good, so now let's start presenting the average march performance of each of these marches, and the data which I gathered for this episode represents 120 battles of an average of roundabout 90 seconds, which means in other words it took me around 3 hours just to get the data necessary to produce this episode. Good. So one key element you have to pay attention, these marches which I'm presenting right now are not sorted right now. This just simply represents the order in which I have done this testing. So here we see Bellevue with Attila and Mulan, and here are the 20 battle reports. The best performance possible, you see it here with roundabout 53.83% of units still left alive on the opponent, and the worst performance possible you see here 81.47% of units still left alive, and this brings us to this score, if I may say so, of 68.09%. And you also have to take in consideration the following fact, that these numbers over here, the smaller they are, the better the performance, and these numbers are only to be compared with the rest of the numbers exclusively from this episode, because all these tests were done in the same day, and each day I basically upgrade my stuff and things are changing. So that is the average performance. Let's check the next march, which is in this case Mulan as commander, Attila and Bellevue. Here we see the best performance possible is 15.0 68%. Worst performance possible is 73.84, which brings us to a score, if I may say so, of 64.68% of units still left alive on my target. Let's go to the next march, and here we see Bellevue, this time with Rani and Mulan. Bellevue is the commander. The best performance possible is 61.84%. The worst performance possible is 80.41%, bringing us to a score of roundabout 72.27% average march performance. Good, let's jump to the next setup, which is in this case Mulan, Rani and Bellevue. Best performance possible right here 64.05%, worst performance possible 82.08%, bringing us to a score of 74.06%. Again, keep in mind, the lower the number, the higher the performance. But we're going to classify these marches in a second and explain you actually the difference, because there are going to be some small differences, but there are also going to be some big differences. Good, let's jump to the next setup, which is in this case Bellevue as commander with Mr. Mehmet and Mulan. Here are the skills used. The best performance possible is 55.35%. The worst performance possible is 80.59%, bringing us to an average march score performance of 64.35%. And the last thing which we want to see, well, definitely is the one which I'm using right now. And that's Mulan as commander, Mehmet and Bellevue. The best performance possible is 45.55%, worst performance possible is 70.81%, and the average march performance score is 62.47%. Okay, so now to the fun part. Let's sort all these marches from rank 6 all the way up to rank 1, add all the numbers on the screen in order for you to see which march is the best, because that will also gonna help us with a conclusion, because there are cases in which it's worth it to switch a hero with a different one, but also cases in which it's not necessarily worth it. And let's start with rank 6, in which we find Mulan with Rani and Bellevue with that score of 74.06%. On rank 5, we have Bellevue with Rani and Mulan with this score of 72.27%. We have then the rank number 4, in which we find Bellevue, Attila and Mulan with this score of 68.09%. Rank number 3 belongs to Mulan, Attila and Bellevue with this score of 64.68%. Rank number 2, probably no surprise, Bellevue, Mehmet and Mulan with a score of 64.35%. And the absolutely best setup right now is Mulan, Mehmet and Bellevue, and that reaches a score of 62.47%. So based on this score, you see small differences on the screen, but you also see big differences like between Mehmet and Rani. So let's start with the difference between Rani and Attila, which is kind of pretty big, round about 8%. And what does that mean? If you only have one single march, doesn't matter the archers or the cavalry, it's definitely super worth it to use Attila. But if you have, for example, 2 marches, well, one of them will be stronger because you invested more items in it, and you should definitely use Attila on that march. And on your second best march, yeah, you can use Rani. Obviously, you can also do the opposite in trying to balance the performance of these 2 marches, because that also is not a bad idea when it comes down to the Wonder Contest and the Battle of the Dawn. So the change is noticeable. But now let's address the difference between Mehmet and Attila, because I'm actually super surprised seeing these numbers. And the way I see it, is not necessarily worth it to replace Attila with Mehmet for the following reasons. Attila is an older hero from season 1, and it doesn't simply matter if your maximum level on which you can bring a hero is only 3 stars, or 4 stars or 5 stars, you have a higher chance to have Attila at a higher star level. Switching to Mehmet, it implies also you have to bring Mehmet to 3 stars. Good, but now we see a massive difference between Mehmet and Rani, and the difference is absolutely massive. Approximately a 10% difference in score, meaning yes, it's absolutely super worth it to replace Rani with Mehmet. And specifically for this case, because the difference between Mehmet and Rani is absolutely super big, let me try to explain you in a different way in order for you to understand even better why this is the case. So in Age of Empires, one could say that we have two elements. One is an offensive element and the other one is the defensive element. When I say an offensive element, I mean the buffs, I mean the gems, basically increasing the secondary strike, obviously certain skills. And when it comes down to the defensive elements, those are also skills which are healing and obviously giving that damage reduction. And let's have a look at the Rani setup, as many players say this would be the best. So what you're seeing here is a little bit of damage and on top this extra buff of 30%. So it's an offensive element. The warrior imp, which is basically the same skill we are using on Attila, is the same thing. So it increases the next hero might by 125 and the critical strike by 20%. So this is another offense element. But when we have a look at Mehmet, for example, these are the best skills people say one should use on Mehmet, which is the All Lament and the other one is the Peaceful Heaven. So when we have a look at the All Lament, what it does, it's healing your troops, while the Peaceful Heaven will gonna add a damage reduction. So both these skills are considered defense elements. And a lot of players think that the offense and defense elements are working parallel to each other. Well, the reality is a different one, because the offense elements act also like defense elements, because the more units you are killing on your opponent, the lesser damage you will be able to do back. And the same applies also for your defense elements. As more units you are able to have during the battle on your march, the more damage you will do once your heroes will activate their skills. So beautiful people, yeah, that's me wrapping up this hopefully legendary tier list for the Archer Warriors. As always, if you like to support my work, the best way to do so is actually 100% free, as you should subscribe to this channel, share this channel with your friends, ask your questions in the comments. I'm gonna try my best to answer them all. If you have a different opinion than me, sure, I strongly welcome you to share your opinion with us in the comments. And obviously you're gonna see two buttons on YouTube. One is like and the other one is dislike, and I strongly encourage you to use both of them. Yes, you heard me right, use the dislike button if you strongly disagree, but please do not just me but all of us a favor and come in the comments and explain exactly why you have chosen to click the dislike button, as you potentially have a very strong argument. And I will gonna love to debate that argument with you guys. So beautiful people, thank you very much for watching. I will gonna catch you in the next one. Ciao, ciao, ciao.